Today we're going to be looking at the 35XX versus the 35XX Plus specifically for PlayStation 1 emulation. Now for this comparison we're running the 35XX standard PlayStation 1 emulator, the only option on the 35XX, but on the 35XX Plus we'll be using RetroArch for PlayStation 1 emulation. You can use the standard emulator, but as RetroArch is an addition, I thought it'd be interesting to see how that runs on the 35XX Plus. And from the outset you can see the 35XX Plus, because we are running RetroArch, has the FPS showing, and we've got a consistent 30 frames per second running for Gran Turismo. Now the really interesting thing, however, is that despite both systems playing Gran Turismo pretty much perfectly, the 35XX looks to be running a little bit faster, and we can see this if we look at the timings of the game itself. Both videos have been started at exactly the same point as soon as the timer started, and we can see that the 35XX is running a fraction of a second faster. Now I don't believe this is down to hardware differences. I believe this is down to the difference between RetroArch and the standard emulator, which is actually quite interesting. But what it does show is that Gran Turismo runs perfectly on both systems. There's no real difference between the two other than the emulator you'll be using. If we jump on over to Ridge Racer 4, we can see exactly the same situation. Ridge Racer 4 is running around about 25 to 30 FPS, so struggling a little bit more than Gran Turismo was. But to be honest, both the 35XX and the 35XX Plus are running pretty much identically, with again the 35XX having the slight upper hand, as we can see by the timings. And once again, I do believe this is down to RetroArch. It looks like RetroArch for PlayStation 1 emulation on the 35XX Plus is maybe not quite as quick as the standard emulator. And I will reiterate that the standard emulator, the one that we're running on the 35XX, is also available on the 35XX Plus, but we were doing this comparison to see if there were any improvements on the Plus, and as we can see, there doesn't seem to be any improvements whatsoever. Now one thing I will say is, yes, my driving is pretty bad in this video, but I will remind you I am trying to play the game and look at the recording at the same time, which is pretty tricky. I mean, I'm not that great anyway, but I'm certainly not this bad. To round things off and have a bit more of a general look, we're playing Crash Bandicoot 2 as well. And as you can see, as with Gran Turismo and Ridge Racer 4, both the 35XX and the 35XX Plus play PlayStation 1 games pretty much perfectly. So to be honest, if you're looking to get a 35XX Plus instead of a 35XX for any improvements in PlayStation 1 emulation, there's no point whatsoever. Both systems run pretty much identically. True improvements for the 35XX Plus come when you're looking at PSP, Dreamcast emulation, and a bunch of other games that you can play on the system that you just simply can't on the 35XX thanks to RetroArch. We will be covering all of that in the 35XX Plus review, which is coming out soon. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure you're subscribed. But in the meantime, if you want to check out the full review of the RG35XX, check out this video right here.